All right, guys, and welcome back to the Weekly Bosh, episode 3.
The Weekly Bosh. What a series this is becoming, eh?
Yeah, it's seminal.
Seminal.
Is seminal the right word? Seminal has
of
connotations of,
Yeah.
some people might be enjoying it in that sense. It's a
What you do in
different
your spare
conversation.
time, none of our concern. Just as long as you like the video.
Yeah,
You
I
right
was going
there.
to say,
You watching this right now. If you're on the YouTube video, if you could just pop it a like, just while we're trying to grow, get us into some
trying to grow.
recommended. That would be lovely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Don't even have to listen to the whole thing, just as long as you give it a like.
No. You've got to understand, we are recording this at 20 past 11 in the evening, the night before. The night before we're due to release it, because we obviously believe in punctuality and planning ahead and all of these wonderful things that neither of us have ever done, having made it through partly way through a university education, Jamie the whole way through. We're still finishing assignments the night before, so if that's not a mood, I don't know what is.
Take us out of uni, but you can't take the No, I'm not going to say that.
Enormous facts. Okay.
Should we talk about the football?
Crack on. We'll get on to the football because so far we've talked about us. So far we talked about us being seminal and growing. So let's move on to the football.
Okay.
We'll do the same. We'll do the same thing we do every week.
Yeah.
It's we look at the fixtures from last weekend. We go over what we think was good, what we think was bad, what we think could have been improved, what we think was just about perfect, and then we'll
do some power rankings
this weekend
as well. We've teased
power
on
rankings
the gram.
We'll look forward to this weekend. It was another good weekend of football.
Yeah, high scoring.
Not sure on
again. Is this the new trend now? Are we just going to get 40 goals a weekend from?
I really hope so. I'm enjoying it. I've got to say, as little as I enjoyed watching Chelsea's 6-game thriller on Saturday evening, I am enjoying the high-scoring football.
Yeah. Speaking of the first one, yeah, go
on. Brighton, Manchester United.
Bit of a mad one, this one, wasn't it?
It looked like being your bog standard Manchester United grind it out result until the 88th, 89th minute.
Yeah.
When they completely switched off from a corner, and 90 plus 5th minute Brighton scored in. The 95th minute in 97 minutes of added time. Solly March scored from a corner. I was out of my seat. I think everyone who's not a Manchester United fan was out of their seat. As it looked like they'd absolutely bottled another one.
The woodwork was not Brighton's friend either on Saturday.
No, Leandro hit the woodwork Trossard. Managed to hit it 4 times on the
I had him on my fantasy team bench. Every time he hit the post, I went, "Oh fucking hell! Thank God!" I can't believe I dodged a bullet of putting him on my bench. Otherwise, he would have scored a hat trick, and I would have cried a little bit. No,
as if it was written from the depths of despair.
Yeah.
Manchester United managed to dig a penalty out of absolutely nowhere.
Really?
And do you know, when I saw it on the screen, I could hardly believe my eyes. Bruno Fernandes walking up to take a penalty from Manchester United. It was
after the final whistle.
It was.
I took a screenshot because I wasn't actually watching the game, but I took a screenshot of full time Brighton 2, Manchester United 2, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a good result for Brighton. I think they could have got more out of the game." And then my phone notification pops up, and it's like Bruno Fernandes 90 plus 10 penalty, and I was like, how's that happen then?
Manchester United have actually. I mean, I've heard that, seeing as we were cheated out of a semi-final in 2008, since then VAR's been used, and we actually got to the final against Man United that year in the Champions League. So, look, I'm going to claim it.
Yeah,
two times Champions League winners, guys.
Well done, you. Well done, Chelsea.
But no, I think there's going to be a very strong running theme throughout this entire episode.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about something that's really causing a lot of issues for football at the moment.
The bloody rules. That's what. The bloody rules.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially the handball, the defender's handball rule is just farcical.
And speaking of, in the next game, Crystal Palace Everton, Joel Ward was the subject of said farcical rule.
Yeah, and it's won the game. It's won the game for Everton.
Yeah, Richarlison converted the pen. Another goal for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but we'll talk about him later.
Yeah. And this is the thing. You look at the early kickoff on the Saturday, and you look at the 3 o'clock kickoff. You could argue that both of them have been decided by both of them have been decided by handball penalties given by VAR.
Yeah,
this is my point. I mean, Roy Hodgson was evidently, obviously,
as well,
absolutely raging after the game, and completely and utterly right. And it's good that these managers have come out. I mean, Steve Bruce on the Sunday we'll talk about when we talk about Newcastle, but. It's becoming more decisive than player performances and team performances.
Yeah, 100%.
If you get a dodgy VAR call, it doesn't matter how you've played because you can scratch a point, you can scratch 3 points. I didn't think Everton actually looked as good as they'd looked previously against Crystal Palace.
They came up against a very good Crystal Palace team who looked in form and actually are defying a lot of expectations this season with a sort of makeshift defence, and that's all credit goes to Roy Hodgson for that one. He's been fantastic. So it's a shame. It's a massive shame, and you can see the look on Joel Ward's face when he gave the penalty, and it was just
it's almost
disbelief.
It's disbelief. Yeah, it's ridiculous because I mean, look, I'm gonna spoil the power rankings, and you can probably guess that. I think both of us have got VAR as a real negative. Or VAR is what's employing the handball rule.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about a bit later
that's
on.
What we're talking about. So we'll go into that in more depth, but it's really starting to cause issues. Overall, Everton held out in the second half and grinded a result. Yeah. But no, again, first 2 games completely overshadowed by VAR
horrible decisions. But yeah.
Next one.
West Brom 3, Chelsea 3. Do you want to take point on this one, Sam?
Well, this was a game of 2 very stressful halves of my life.
Yeah.
Because obviously, I raved about Thiago Silva on this podcast. I said that he was our signing of the summer. He was going to be our defensive saviour. And then 25 minutes into the game, he completely under no pressure from anyone fell over and gave a goal away. That was after that Marcus Alonso, 4 minutes in, had decided he'd forgotten how to head a football. And then 27 minutes in, forgot how to mark from a corner.
It did seem that you were hell-bent on making Callum Robinson look like Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, I mean, this has been an issue. This has been an issue that's been at Chelsea since Sarri arrived. Really,
question that I posed to you, and I'm by no means taking away the blame from Kepa Arrizabalaga, but is this not a glaring insight into Chelsea's defensive frailties? And I'm not going to say misplaced transfers signings because you have recruited there. But is it a problem with tactics? Is it a problem with the players? Will Ben Chilwell come in and shore up the defence? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think at the moment it's difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, we're looking at 2 players who, I mean, Ben Chilwell is still coming off the back of a very serious injury.
Yeah.
That he's been recovering from for pretty much the longevity of the summer. Thiago Silva has never played a Premier League game before. I think he was caught out by the pace of it, but I think he's good enough to adapt. And that's the main thing now. These players have got to adapt to the style. When you can talk about our frailties, but this is Chelsea, coming into a completely different era of football now.
Conceding 3 goals to West Brom, though.
Of course you can't, but I was saying this to my dad, and I've had conversations with other people. I'm very much of the understanding that every team over the last couple of weekends has conceded goals to teams they shouldn't have conceded goals to. City conceded 5 against Leicester at the weekend, but no one is is, going off on Twitter about City's defensive frailty. Everyone's ready to jump on us because it's been an issue for 2 or 3 seasons now.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to sit here and say that we are completely defensively hapless yet, because we've still got 2 very, very good defenders to bed in and get used to the system.
And 35 games left of the season as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, if 10 games down the line, we are sitting 6th in the league and we've conceded, 20 goals, 20, 22, 23 goals, then it will be a massive defensive issue. But I'm not ready to say anything like that yet, because ultimately we've lost 1 game out of 3 here, and it was against the champions, and who look like already they're going to be the runaway champions this year. So I don't think it's that much of an issue. I think that the players that made the mistakes at the weekend, one of them was Thiago Silva, who's playing his first game for Chelsea in the Premier League, and the other one is the left back that we are actually replacing.
Yeah, and have replaced in the transfer window.
And one thing I can say is that the second half against West Brom was an example of the quality that we actually have in our side, coming back from 3 goals down against a team that sat back and putting 10 men behind the ball. Havertz and Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah, it was really nice.
And
well worked.
Havertz showing what he's actually in the side to do. Yeah. Mount scored a really good goal, and we robbed it at the end. But for that whole of the second half, we looked like we were going to come back, and that's attacking wise, we look a lot better.
Yeah,
but defensively, it does need to be sorted out. Whether that involves bringing in another defender or just bedding in Thiago Silva while we can, it's going to be an interesting few weeks for Chelsea, I think.
Right, moving on. The blockbuster of the weekend: Burnley 0, Southampton 1.
Dull.
Oh, it was awful.
It was dull. Southampton scored on 5 minutes and then sat back and held on to a 1-0 win against Burnley. There's not much else we need to say.
Well done to them.
There's not much else that needs to be said really about them, is there? I mean, good result for them, but it's in a weekend where there were goals galore. It's a very disappointing, very disappointing game to watch.
Definitely. Right, next one: Sheffield versus Leeds. Another goalless game for the Blades. When will this end?
It is when did the alarm bells start ringing?
Yeah.
We've been pretty reserved about Sheffield United because of their performances last season. Yeah. We've been kind of waiting for them to start for them to click into gear and start playing their football. But this is 3 games in now when they haven't scored a goal.
And not against massive oppositions either.
I was going to say, they've played
Wolves, Aston Villa and Leeds in their first 3 games.
I was going to say, Wolves got dismantled by you at the weekend.
Well, we'll come to that later.
Yeah, but Aston Villa, Wolves got dismantled and do not look like the team they were last season. Aston Villa, they
look good. I like Aston Villa.
Aston Villa look good, but they are a team that has just escaped relegation next year. And to lose to, Leeds have just come up. These are not. It's not like Sheffield United have played upper echelon, top 6, top 8 teams. Yeah. These are opposition that at least one of them you'd be expecting Sheffield United to win the game based off last season's competition. And honestly, they don't even look like coming close to getting a goal sometimes. They look really, really short up front, and whether that's because they've been caught out tactically, or because they simply don't have the firepower this year.
Yeah, that was the thing that we said in the preview as well a couple of weeks back. We said this it can go one or two ways for Sheffield this year. They could either do really poorly and people sort of figure out their tactic. I think a couple of people have sort of quoted second season syndrome and said, will this be the year that Sheffield go down after having a good season? I think it would be a shame because I like Chris Wilder as a manager and I like the set of players that they have. But unfortunately, 3 games in, no goals.
Yeah, you can't allow yourself to get dragged into the romance of it.
No.
I think, does Chrissy Wilder have a plan B?
Which isn't the 5-back with the...
No, which isn't the 5-back, the overlapping centre-backs, and it's all very clever until teams figure out how to play against it. And then does he have something to fall back on? Does he have the quality in his side to fall back on? And that will again come to be seen in the next few weeks. But I think Sheffield United have got to be very realistic about the situation they're now in, which is bottom half relegation.
Well, we'll see.
To have not scored a goal.
As I say, 35 games left. We'll talk about them a bit later on.
We will.
But next one, Spurs Newcastle. I think this was the most undeserved point I've seen in Premier League history.
It was, and look, we had this conversation the other day. Me and you, Chelsea and West Ham fans, first people to sit here and laugh at Tottenham and say, all their drop points against a rubbish team. I found myself more angry about Tottenham drawing a game than happy, and that does not come to me very easily.
No.
But watching the way that the back end of that game unfolded actually made me question whether I actually had a true love for football anymore.
No,
it's not. It's really starting to ruin the game now.
We'll get onto that later, but Lucas Moura goal, well worked. And then one shot on target for Newcastle, and that was Calabresi's penalty.
Newcastle, Tottenham definitely. Tottenham could have won the game 4-5-0. That's the
something
point.
We can say about Tottenham. Why are you not more ruthless? Why are you not going out there and taking advantage of the? Let me just check. 23
shots on target. 23 shots, 12 on target. They had 10 corners.
You should be finishing Newcastle off in the first half. There, you should be winning.
You should be.
Put the game out of sight. But
at the end of the day, they have held on to 1-0. They look like they're going to see it out, and then we'll talk about what happened later. But it's another one that's just gone. It's dragging football into the mire, and it's a disgrace.
Right, the next one was probably the shock result of the weekend. Or the one after, we'll talk about that. But
2 shot results,
so Man City 2, Leicester 5 away at the Etihad. The first time a Guardiola side has conceded 5 in his entire managerial career.
Yeah, and it's against Jamie Vardy.
He's a legend, isn't he? He's so
I've heard popped 3 cans of Foster's, stuck a bucket out on, put champagne supernova on blast in the dressing room and just lift it up for about an hour before he went out. Then went out and scored an absolute banger of a hat-trick.
Yeah.
Ended up in the Hacienda.
3 pens. None of the handballs, just good runs from Vardy.
Just really. Good goals, yeah. Well, that's it. Jamie Vardy is still scoring and still scoring comfortably. I don't know how many goals he's got this season so far.
4 or 5, I reckon.
Well, him and Calvert-Lewin are joint for top scorer. Are both on 5. Obviously, Vardy scoring 2 against West Brom.
Not resting on his 3 here. Is he?
No, well, neither of them are.
No.
And they're both English. They're both English, which is good to see.
Yeah. Banger from Maddison. Absolutely insane goal. And then Yuri Tielemans.
Helps my dream team. I think Leicester are really starting to kick on now. They're looking good.
Can they challenge top 4 again? Can they be up there in that conversation for the most of the season if they play like that against?
You think about the teams. You look at the teams that are in conversation for top 4. If you assume that City and Liverpool finish top 2, United, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton, Leicester.
Oh, it's so exciting this season, isn't it?
All of them,
really is.
All of them could quite easily do it, and that is really exciting.
Yeah, very much so.
And I think on the day Leicester were comfortably better than City, and
dispatch them.
That a worry? It's a big worry for City. Obviously, they've just spent big on another centre back.
Yeah, I was about to say they've just reacted by saying, let's go and get Ruben Diaz. All right,
70 million pounds on the table for Ruben Diaz.
And one of the best young centre backs in probably Europe / the world at the moment. If you play Football Manager,
definitely.
Speaking of teams that can challenge top 4, I don't want to get carried away.
But you have got Antonio.
I hear the Champions League theme tune in the background here.
What is that? Alongside Forever Blowing Bubbles? Is that?
Trust me, mate. They're both going to be overlapping each other, and I'm just going to be sitting there, very pleased with myself.
I'll let you take point.
I'm baffled. I'm genuinely baffled. I think I said last week that I think we were going to win it. So I shouldn't be so baffled, but it was just
I don't think you meant it.
I said it.
It was blind support.
Question
mark. It was blind support for West Ham, but it was. I mean, they came out and absolutely tore through. Very very hard. A decent Wolves team.
Yeah, and I think the problem with West Ham is they have to get a good start. If they don't get a good start, or if they don't score by sort of the 60th minute, we're sort of up a creek without a paddle, because Moyes doesn't bring on substitutes until the 80th minute, and it gets very frustrating. Obviously, he wasn't there, so all credit goes to Alan Irvine, the assistant manager. If you watch the West Ham clips, alternative commentary on that, it made me cry, genuinely. Give it a watch, it's bloody hilarious. But yeah, 2 goals from Jared Bowen at the heart of all our attacks. Souček deflected one in off Raul Jimenez from a corner, and then Sebastian Haller doing what strikers do, imagine. And Pablo Fornal had a good game, and Arthur Masuaku had a blinder. In that 5-back system, he's just completely freed with that left wing back, which I think is a massive advantage of that 5-back system. We've got really good.
He's a good player, Masuaku. I've got to say, I can't see Cresswell finding his way back into your side.
Well, no, that's the thing. He's playing the left centre back role. He's playing that sort of Azpilicueta sort of role. If you get what I mean,
inside,
when you had that 5-back in the Conte title-winning side, Cresswell's sort of playing that left centre back, and you got Ogbonna and Balbuena, and then do you know what, Sam? We're signing a player.
We're signing a player.
We're signing a player.
Who is it?
His name's Kufal, I think, and it'll be announced tomorrow. He's just doing a medical, and he's from the same team that Thomas Souček was from.
Slavia
Prague. So hopefully he'll be good, because Ryan Fredericks got injured. So we'll see. But
I mean, I don't want to rain on your parade at all, but the rumours are that Chelsea have sent Barkley out on loan to make way for the arrival of Declan Rice. Apparently, those are the murmurs around Chelsea Football Club at the moment.
Let me have my 4-0 win. Just let me have it. I was on Football Manager the other day, and I'm doing a West Ham save, and City just signed him for 150 million, and I got very upset. But yeah,
it is appearing more and more. I think that is the reason we've sent Barkley out on loan. Apparently, that's the murmurs that
don't care. Right, next one.
Next one is
Aston Villa 3. Fulham are dying, aren't they?
Let's talk about the way football clubs are run in general. The manager, the assistant manager, and the players comment on the game. When your director of football is having to formally apologise to your fans because of the state of the football that you're playing, then you know there is a serious problem at your football club.
Yeah.
And this is 3 games into the season. Fulham have conceded this season. I can't even... It's unbelievable.
3 against Villa and 3 against Arsenal.
Yeah. 3 against Arsenal. So Fulham have conceded 10 goals in 3 games. They've scored
3, which is against
Leeds.
3,
but all 3 of them against Leeds. So let's be completely and utterly honest about this. They're going down.
Yeah, the Jamie Carragher interview, I don't know if you've seen on Sky, he basically just said he's never been so sure that a team will be going down apart from Fulham.
They just look... I mean, they don't look like they're going to beat anyone.
No, until they go to the London Stadium, and then they're gonna win 2-1.
And it's 1998 France at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Ivan Cavaliero is going to become Thierry Henry. No, Fulham are currently bottom of the league, -7 goal difference.
Will they stay there? Will they be?
I think so.
Will they be the first team to be bottom of the table from week 1 and stay there for the next 38 weeks?
I can see it happening. Because, I mean, you look at... I mean, I don't know who Fulham's next... Well, we'll talk about Fulham more because they're in our power rankings. But, yeah, terrible performance from them. Jack Grealish, turning up for Aston Villa and, you know, doing Jack Grealish things.
Mm.
Yes. And
well done to Villa. Really good.
Well done to
solid
Villa.
Performance, as you say, Jack Grealish and co doing the business. And I think Villa 2 from 2. Obviously, they've only played Sheffield and Fulham, but I'd like to see them kick on against bigger and better sides, because I like Villa as a club. I think they're a massive club and they deserve to. They merit a place in the Premier League. But finally, we'll go on to Liverpool Arsenal 3-1 to the Scousers. Sadio Mane. Well, it started off well for Arsenal with a masterful piece of defending from Andy Robertson,
who 2 minutes later made up for it by scoring a goal. So
that is
if you ever needed an example of the spirit and the attitude that this Liverpool team have got, I mean, you know, what can you say about Liverpool? They're just annoyingly excellent. You know, really in every facet of their game, they were superior to Arsenal the other night. And I actually fancied Arsenal, but after 20 minutes, it was obvious that Liverpool are just a step ahead of everyone else at the moment.
Still, as well, which is the scary thing. I know.
Yeah, it's really starting to worry me.
It's going to be a dynasty.
It could be.
And then Diego Jota scoring a goal on his debut as well, which is quite nice for Liverpool fans.
What is it with Liverpool and having good debutants? Anyway, look, there's not really much else to be said. Arsenal weren't even bad. Arsenal played relatively well on the night, but were just beaten by the better side, and that's the reality of it. Liverpool are brilliant and probably going to win the league again. I'm going to get really upset about it because I thought we were going to win the league, but it doesn't matter because we're shit and Liverpool are really good. I'm going to get upset. So let's just move on to our good power rankings before I start getting really upset.
Good power rankings. Okay. Should we go from third to top, or do you want to just...
Yeah, go from third to top.
Okay, so we'll start at third with West Ham.
I'll let you take point on this one because you know a lot more than I do.
Yeah, as I said before, you know, you've got that new 5-back system, which I think is really working well. It's just giving us extra security at the back, because what we did against Wolves was we sat back, we were really structured. And we just did really well and got them on the break multiple times, and then a couple of goals from set pieces and crosses, and it was just a really good performance. And I think if we keep performing like that, we've got a couple of tough fixtures coming up. I think we've got Leicester on the weekend, and then Spurs, City and Liverpool, so a really tough set of games coming up. But seeing that performance, I'm thinking, you know, Wolves are a highly attacking team and we're going up against some highly attacking teams. If we can stay structured and stay, you know, in our shape and don't give up stupid goals like we have done over the past couple of years, then we really could get a couple of points out of this. And then we've got some easier games after that. So it's encouraging for West Ham. Obviously, there will be speculation around the future of Declan Rice and going to Chelsea, but you know, if that does happen, and I hope it happens soon, because it needs to give us a chance to sort of get the amount of money or the player exchange, because I think that was something that was talked about as well, wasn't it? Tony Rudiger was talked about in the exchange for Declan Rice, but we need that money now, and we need to reinvest really quickly before the transfer window closes.
I think so.
Whether that'll happen or not is another thing. Yes, that's my...
We'll find out.
Yeah, so
that's your 10 pence.
We've put Leicester City, but I've put in brackets Jamie Vardy.
Jessa.
J-Vards.
The Vard man.
Vegan monster.
Look, I don't want to put anything. I don't want to start any shit. But Jamie Vardy has been absolutely magnificent ever since his wife got outed as a grass. The man absolutely lives for shithousery and carnage and chaos.
And I need it in my veins, please.
No, it is absolute showreel cinema football, and he's a showreel player, and you can't dislike him because he's so
down to earth, isn't he?
He's down to earth. He's so working class and so football fan that we can actually relate with him. You look at players like Sterling and all these players that are like gods. They're almost too unreal
to be the normal man.
Yeah, they're above us. And then you see Jamie Vardy, who came out in an interview and said, "Yeah, my breakfast is just Red Bull. I just have a Red Bull in the morning, go to training." And he's the whole thing when he was playing at the Euros was Jamie Vardy's having a party, and everyone just went out and got absolutely lashed in his name.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's good to see him scoring goals because he is a class act.
He's such a good player as well. I don't think a lot of people don't understand the runs that he makes and the pace that he still possesses just causes problems for defenders.
It really does,
and all 90 minutes because he is unstoppable.
He's been doing it all season, and he will. Jamie Vardy holding his hands to his ears in front of an empty Hawthorns crowd is just. I mean, it's poetic.
I need to get behind.
It's poetic. Yeah. I mean, it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to see him performing because he's a player I've always been a fan of. We talked about him in the previews. He's come up through the ranks and he's really done his time in non-league and lower league football, and he's showing those roots in the Premier League. But he's just really good, and he's fast. He's really good at finishing. He's the kind of centre forward any team would kill to have.
Yeah, I think the thing is with Jamie Vardy is, as I said, he's just a nightmare for defenders. Like, you don't know where he is, and by the time you figure it out, he's in front of you and he's got the ball and he's past you. And I think that's what makes Leicester so dangerous with that sort of killer instinct up top, because I think that's what a lot of teams lack in this league, is that sort of killer instinct. Like, if Leicester played against the Newcastle side that played against Tottenham, that game would have been over. Trust me, that game would have been over. So we'll see what Leicester do this season, but looking fantastic. And then we move on to our number one in the power rankings. Mr. Calvert-Lewin.
What a look, he's an example of a player that last season looked all right, had a decent year.
Yeah.
But was definitely sat in the shadow of Richarlison.
Yeah.
And this year has come out and flown out of the blocks, and he just keeps getting better.
Yeah. I mean, he played against West Ham last night. Scored a hat-trick.
Yeah.
And he's just doing it every game. And he really needs this to continue. He needs this purple patch to continue, because he can't just be this sort of 10-goal a season striker for Everton anymore. He needs to push 20, and he needs to push more. But with the way that he's playing and the service that he's getting, that was another thing. The service that he gets is just so much more quality now that you've got players like James.
Yeah, I think he's being helped out by the fact that he's suddenly receiving a lot more into feet. He's suddenly receiving a lot more where he likes to have it.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to defend as well, because he's got Doucouré and Alan behind him.
Yeah, and they are destroyers.
Just a really good team, and a lot of teams need to watch out for them this season because they're seriously, seriously good.
Yeah, I'm already worried about going to Everton and playing against him.
Definitely.
And I've said this. I said this earlier on today. He is exactly the kind of striker that England need to take to the Euros next summer, alongside Harry Kane.
Yeah,
because he's
just been picked as well, hasn't he?
He has, and he's got his first ever England call up, and that's great. Alongside Harvey Barnes and someone else I can't remember who also hadn't been picked before. But Calvert-Lewin is a lot quicker than Harry Kane. He's got a bit more about him in terms of actually bullying defenders and things like that. And I think he's got a lot more energy than Harry Kane at times.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good player.
Because I still rate Harry Kane very highly.
No. Harry Kane as an instinctive predatory finisher, as an old-fashioned centre forward, is probably still the better player. But my point is that Calvert-Lewin gives us something different. As an England fan, he gives us something different, and he's the kind of player you're going to want to take to the Euros alongside Harry Kane.
Absolutely, and Ings off the bench and Rashford as well.
If you say, it is definitely promising, and I'm happy that Calvert-Lewin is scoring the goals and getting the recognition that he's actually probably deserved for the last 2 seasons, but he hasn't quite scored enough and performed well enough to get it, and he looks like he's going to do it this year. So we'll move on to
the low rankings.
The naughty bad rankings.
Naughty bad rankings. Number 3 in our negative power rankings is Sheffield United.
Now, there needs to be a conversation had about Sheffield United, and I'm sure that there's conversations being had at that club at the moment about the state of their season so far.
Yeah.
We have eaten our words on this podcast before. We've spoken too soon on things. We've over said, but we have, like I said earlier, we've held fire on Sheffield United past 2 very, very poor games from them.
Yeah. And do you want to know their next 4?
Yeah, go on.
Arsenal, Fulham, Liverpool, City, and then Chelsea.
Well, you'd say there's 3 points in that.
Fulham.
And if they don't beat Fulham, then they're in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Serious trouble.
There needs to be a rethink, doesn't there?
Well, I think the bigger teams... I don't want to say Chelsea are a big team. I don't want to speak on Chelsea at the moment because every time I've said we're good, we've lost or drawn. So I'm going to shut up about Chelsea.
5 weeks' time, so
that's fine. We look at Arsenal, Liverpool. These teams I think have worked out how to play against Chrissy Wilder's system, and I think they'll struggle against them. But Fulham are deer in the headlights at the moment.
You think if they don't get a result against Fulham, there's going to be an inquest at Sheffield United and.
Yeah.
Do you see Wilder getting sacked?
Look, I don't think they'll sack Wilder because he has been there for a few years. He was a player. He's a manager that's lifted them from the doldrums of English football up to the main.
I was at a Southend game 4 years ago, playing Sheffield United, and Southend won 3-0.
Exactly. He really has brought them up, and I think it would be a mistake to sack him. But can we? Is it too little? How long can you justify there being no plan B? Is Chrissy Wilder a Premier League level manager?
Well, he was
because
there was no doubt.
He was. It was
masterful tactics that he was employing for Sheffield United. And I
think his system caught teams off guard. No one had played against this before.
Yeah,
but now teams have played 2 games against this system. The back end in the restart, they did get caught out, and they had a very poor restart because I think teams have actually had time to look at them and say, "Well, this is how we beat Sheffield United."
And my point is, I'll make this point very quickly, is that I think the lack of fans is also affecting Sheffield as well because Bramall Lane is such an intimidating place to go, and the Sheffield fans are so passionate. I just feel like that played a massive part for teams going to Bramall Lane last season because it was a fortress last season for them. If I'm not wrong,
definitely.
So, but it's worrying for Sheffield United. They need to buck their ideas up seriously and start getting some results. Otherwise, it goes downhill extremely quickly. Anything else to say, or are you?
I think, like you said, if it goes downhill in this league. As well, when it starts going downhill, it can develop and snowball very, very quickly. And social media and the news, you snowball in the Championship, you might get a couple stories, on BBC Sports saying, "Oh, this is happening." You snowball in the Premier League, you have got everyone on you, and the fans will start. I don't care whether you are Fulham, whether you're Aston Villa, whether you're Chelsea, whether you're United, you start to snowball. The fans are going to start questioning the manager. The fans are going to start questioning the players.
Yeah,
and this all plays into the issue that once a club starts heading down a downward spiral, it's very difficult to restart it again without making a drastic change in the playing or the managerial staff. The next one is Fulham.
Yeah,
Fulham,
which is a pretty similar story to Sheffield United.
I think
they've taken to blame Scott Parker as well.
Yeah, well, you've obviously got the West Ham link to Scott Parker. Yeah. I said at the start of the season that I didn't trust Scott Parker's managerial acumen.
Like that word, good word.
I didn't trust his managerial acumen. I didn't trust that he had seen enough as a manager to understand. Or even seen enough really as a player. I didn't trust that he had enough to deal with the Premier League tactically. And at the weekend
as well, I'm really sorry to his players aren't Premier League.
No, they're not.
And
they're
you
not.
can say, Chris Wilder first season back, in the Prem, didn't have the players for it. Everybody predicted them to go down, and he did really well. They came 10th, but these players genuinely just aren't up to the standard. And unless Parker sort of employs this giant killing tactic, Fulham are just absolute dead on to go down this season.
Well, I've got to be honest, Scott Parker doesn't even look like Fulham don't look like they know what they're even playing.
Yeah.
Fulham look completely benign, tactically look completely, they look dead in the water already.
Yeah. Mm.
This is a club where their players they look like their shoulders are down, body language is wrong, and they're 3 games in.
Yeah.
You talk about passion and you talk about the right attitude in the Premier League. These players, Tyrone Mings' goal on Monday, he's broken from their defensive line, and instead of actually chasing him, they've all just stood there with their arms up.
Mm.
They're almost too reluctant to actually defend that they're begging for an offside because it strikes me as a team that don't actually know what they're doing. It's a team full of individuals that aren't playing as a team.
Yeah.
And like you said, the individuals aren't good enough on their own to win games.
Dennis Adoy is a right back. I think he's so average.
I was woeful. It was woeful on Monday. It's one of the worst defensive performances I think I've seen.
And I do feel sorry
anywhere.
for Fulham. I seriously do, because again, I like them as a club, but something serious has got to happen if they're going to avoid relegation.
I've got to be honest. I think Scott Parker's going to cop it. I think that's what's going to happen. Well, Fulham, I reckon. I remember a couple of years ago when Fulham were in the Premier League, they let. I can't remember the name of the manager that brought him up. They let him go.
That's annoying.
Whoever it was, they let him go, and then the first game after they sacked him, Ranieri took over and played us. Then 2 months down the line, they let Ranieri go, and they brought Scotty P in. He took over in the Championship. They've come up, and I can just see if this carries on for another month, the director of football just let Scott Parker go.
Yeah,
they are very much like relegation teams like Watford in their treatment of their managers. It's very trigger finger. It's just, if we need to change something, just get rid of the manager, right? I think, like you said, the playing staff. Jokanovic. Yeah. Yes, Jokanovic. I think, like you said, with the playing staff, there is a much wider issue at that club where they need someone who can basically make
every
players better.
Yeah. Like Wilder did last season.
I don't think Scott Parker is that man. I don't think he's good enough as a manager to make those players better.
Be as a manager, it's just his experience isn't quite there yet, and
he's not going to learn just getting battered every week.
Well, he might,
and
might learn.
He might do. I can't see. I can't see it working out. And if it doesn't work out this season, I can see Scott Parker losing his job. Accentuate the syllables.
Yes.
So yeah, I think Fulham are in real trouble. But there is only one thing that we're going to talk about as our top, as our worst power ranking, as our absolute devil of the weekend.
The bloody rules, Sam. The bloody rules.
And we're not talking to you now as West Ham or Chelsea fans with our own loyalties or our own with our own loyalties or our own views on different teams. I'm starting to actually not want to watch football.
I don't want to celebrate.
Oh,
I don't
that's
want to
the
celebrate
thing.
Goals.
And
I'm sitting there like, right, okay, balls in the net. Like, at that point, I should be jumping about.
Mental. Chelsea equalised, right, after coming from 3 down against West Brom in the 94th minute at the weekend. I should have been off down the road with my shirt off. But I've actually had to stand there and stop my dad from celebrating.
Yeah.
Who would have lost his mind and was ready to lose his mind. And I had to stand there with the ball in the net and go, no, not yet.
Wait.
Not yet.
Bloody purple screen comes up.
And you have to stand there for it. You You have to wait for a minute as well. It's not like it happens like that and you could just go, yeah, okay, fine. They have to sit there and watch it 20 times, and then at the end of it, the referee decides he wants to go and look at a stupid screen, and then he looks at it, and then he makes a decision, and then by the time you've had it, the moment's so dead in the water that it happens, and you go, oh, it's a goal.
Yay.
And it's killing the spectacle of football.
Yeah.
There's no limbs anymore.
Yeah, the Roy Hodgson interview that he had after the Everton game was perfect, and I think a lot of managers resonated with it, including Steve Bruce as well. Who, can you imagine? You're the manager of a Premier League side that sort of need as many points as they can get, and you're like sitting at the end of the game going, "We shouldn't have really got a point there."
No, and that is the issue, because managers are now questioning the rules, even though it's helped their side.
Yeah. This
is, and what my point is with VAR is it makes it completely undeniable.
Yeah.
With when you had referees before and it was just human error, if they got something wrong, you could just say, well, the refs got it wrong. That's football. This is what happens. With VAR now, they cannot get it wrong. This is the whole point of bringing this in, is that you do not and cannot get it wrong anymore. And all it has done is create more controversy. The handball rule is ridiculous. The sleeve, the fact that if it hits you on the sleeve, then it's not handball. I understand that because it's the shoulder. But
there's
I mean, the natural
in the rule as well.
The natural arm position is the most ridiculous rule I've ever heard of in my entire. I mean, to understand what we mean when we say, or when they say natural position. If you're a Premier League defender, and you're chasing back, say you're chasing back Calvert-Lewin, like Joel Ward was. Say you are trying to stop Calvert-Lewin scoring a goal, right? As a defender, your natural instinct is to get in the way of the ball.
Yeah.
You should not be having to think about having your arms behind your back or having your arms pinned to the side. If you're running, you shouldn't have to be worried about not pumping your arms. You look like an idiot. If you run, I want everyone who's listening to this right now, get up and try and run across your room with your arms by your side and don't pump them. And then tell me you don't... Yeah, look like a penguin. It's ridiculous. The natural position rule is farcical. I mean, the one that, and even then, Spurs have had a penalty given against them tonight where it was literally pinned to his side and they've had to give it, because if it hits his arm, then it has to be a penalty. But where do we draw the line? When are attackers going to start just aiming for defenders' arms? When are attackers going to actually start kicking the ball at defenders' arms to get a penalty?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. And Steve Bruce. The decision against Tottenham was ridiculous. Eric Dyer's off the floor.
It's the worst one of the weekend by far, because he's not even looking.
Eric Dyer's not looking at the ball, which is, let's be honest, a very Eric Dyer thing to do. But Eric Dyer's not looking at the ball, and they are saying that you have to jump without pumping your arms.
Yeah. Again, guys, try at home. Jump without your arms.
See how high you can jump with pumping your arms, and then see how high you can jump without... Because it gives... defenders, it's actually making the game harder for defenders so they don't give handballs away. I mean, I could...
Is this why so many goals are being conceded? Because defenders are so scared that it's going to hit their arm that they're just sort of not getting in the way of the ball enough.
If it carries on like this, we were talking about this the other day, and if it carries on like this in this trend, we're going to see, I think it was in and around 90 penalties this season.
Just for handball.
Just for handballs.
That's
3 a game week. 3 a game week.
Yeah.
It is absolutely, completely and utterly disgraceful. And the fact that they've allowed this rule and are continuing to allow this rule to have a place in our game is completely and utterly, it's disgusting. And I'm getting to the end of my tether with it, because I know that Chelsea are going to be cost points because of this. City are probably going to lose points because of this. And if this is what decides the league at the end of the year, is a penalty decision like this, then it will completely ruin the integrity of football itself.
Yeah.
If we are leaning on rules like this instead of actually focusing on the game. And I could sit here and lose my mind over this for hours, but you guys have got lives to get back to, and it's already gone midnight, so let's leave this.
Let's go and do a quick fire, really quick fire,
very quick fire predictions for this weekend.
I'm going to shoot them at you. You're going to say, okay? We haven't rehearsed this either, right? Chelsea Crystal Palace.
Every time I say Chelsea are going to win, we do shit. So I'm going to say 1-1 draw, and I hope that we get a result.
I'm going to say 2-1 Chelsea.
Okay.
Everton Brighton. That's a good game, actually. Go on.
That's a really good game. Two very informed teams. 2-1 Everton.
I'm going 2-2. I fancy Brighton here to bounce back after that disappointment.
There's another good game.
Leeds City. Wow.
That's another good game. This is a
really good weekend.
It's a good Saturday.
Well, apart from the last one.
Yeah, that's a letdown. Anyway, that's a Brucey Burnley derby.
Brucey Deitch derby. Oh. Can you imagine?
Brucey v Burnley.
Nobody's just going to touch the ball. It's just going to be in the middle of the pitch with each team 10, 11 players on the goal line.
It's just Sean Dyche in the corner shoveling worms into his mouth.
Go on, Leeds City quickly. Go.
Leeds City, 4-0 City. I don't think they'll take that loss last weekend very well.
City, I'm going.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take losing last weekend very well. Anyway, Newcastle Burnley. Don't care. I don't care.
2-0 Burnley.
Yeah.
Leicester West Ham.
1-0. I'm backing you this weekend.
3-1 Leicester.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Southampton West Brom. Ugh.
Ooh, boring.
Definitely.
Southampton, I think. 2-0. Yeah, 2-0. 2-0. We've both gone for that.
Okay. Arsenal Sheffield. They'll get a goal. They'll get a goal. I'm saying they're going to get a goal.
I don't think Sheffield United will score 3-0.
2-1 Arsenal.
All right.
Wolves Fulham.
Fulham away at Wolves. Wolves will want to bounce back after last weekend. Yeah. Fulham looked like a fish in the desert.
Fish in the desert.
It's not the analogy I was going for, but do you know what? I've winged it, and it's worked.
It's actually worked. I like it because a fish can't survive in a desert, can it? That's just ridiculous.
It bloody can't. So it's just you're so. It's metaphors, Jamie. It's a metaphor, Jamie. We're gonna go with. I'm gonna go with 3-0.
5-0.
I'm fine.
I don't even. No, I'm sorry.
Fish in the desert, getting fried,
getting cooked,
getting bloody toasted.
Good game.
Manchester United against Tottenham.
Yeah. 2-2.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll draw 1-0.
Okay. Villa.
Aston Villa against Liverpool. Do you know what? Shock of the weekend. 1-0. Sod it. I think Grealish will score and then Aston Villa will hold on to get a point.
3-1 Liverpool.
Right.
I'm going predictable.
Okay.
Sorry.
And I believe that is, that's it.
That's it.
That's the fastest we've ever done that, and we even got a metaphor in.
Yeah. Fish in the desert. If you're here comment fish in the desert.
Because no one ever comments what we tell them to comment.
No, it's really sad, guys.
Please, no one commented I hate Kepa. Yeah, no one commented I hate Kepa, and that in my opinion is a travesty.
It is.
Because I hate Kepa.
It is. But yeah, cheers for listening, everyone. If you're still here, thank you very much. If you're still here also, please leave a like on the video. It's free and it helps us massively. If you've got a YouTube account, drop a subscribe if you're new. We love you all. And
just one thing, a little bit of housekeeping. There is a link to a petition in our bio.
Yes.
Fighting the FA's cuts to futsal organisations and futsal clubs around the country, and that's from the grassroots level where we play up until the very top of the national team. Me and Jamie have played futsal together for a couple of years. I'm going
high level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw the word generational around, but Have you seen my free kick?
Oh,
if you haven't,
I wondered how long it would be.
If you haven't,
said that in a
send
podcast.
me a DM. Send us a DM. I'll send it through. You can, seminal.
I should have done a sweepstake on this of how long it would have been until Sam mentions his free kick in a podcast. If you know,
but know. All jokes aside, it's a massive issue because we understand that now that we've been involved with a futsal society and a club, we understand how important this funding is to keeping things moving. It pays for balls, it pays for bibs, it pays for hall space, it pays for everything. It funds the league that we play in. It's really important, and if you guys could just go and sign this, this petition, it's going to help us.
It's not a lot. Just create. I think you can create an account, but you don't have to. You can do it through Facebook.
No,
or whatever, but,
just do whatever, and it's really important, and it's going to your children are going to want to play futsal, your grandchildren are going to want to play futsal because it's a massively growing sport, and it's a sport that's really good for fitness. It helps us. Me and Jamie both met each other through it, and you wouldn't have had this probably without futsal. So. If you can, just go and give that a read. See what you think. I think there's a little donation page if you can on the Just Giving thing, but obviously that's if you want to. If you feel like if you're absolutely minted, you can do that.
Me and you are.
Yeah, currently, yeah. I mean, I don't. Scrooge McSam. Sat over here, but no. Check out the petition. And that is all I've got to say.
Yeah.
This has been the Weekly Bosh number 3.
Number 3 of the
Guys, it's midnight. It's late in the evening. I'm glad to be sitting here talking to you.
Oh.
I feel like we've connected on an emotional. Level tonight, but I'm getting into the fish in the desert territory again, not knowing what to say. So I'm just going to sign off.
Yeah.
Boys, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week to probably argue about football again.
Yeah, we'll do 2 next week. Let's try and do it.
Let's try and do it. I mean, we can do that.
Yeah.
We're not employed. Work's not important.
I am, but yeah.
I am too. Work's not important. We can call in, we'll come up with some. I've got, I'll just say I'm not going to name an illness because someone might have it, and that's not nice. Yeah. So. We've waffled on for about 5 minutes over time, but boys, we're going to head. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, leave a like. Thanks for listening to the Offline Podcast. See you later.